Madison Square Garden, New York City, September 7, 2001. Michael Jackson's 30th anniversary celebration concert. The second night, 20,000 people screaming. Michael has just finished performing The Way You Make Me Feel with his brothers during the Jackson 5 reunion segment. He's walking backstage for a quick costume change before his solo set. Sweat-drenched, exhausted, exhilarated. His assistant meets him in the wings with a towel and water. But she's also holding something else. A bouquet of white roses. 12 of them, tied with a simple white ribbon. "These just arrived for you," she says. "From who?" Michael asks, taking the water. "No name, but there's a note." Michael takes the bouquet. His hands are shaking slightly, not from the performance, from something else. Because white roses were always her favorite. Tatum O'Neal, his first love, the girl he dated when he was 19 and she was 15. The relationship that taught him what it felt like to have someone see past the fame and just see him. They broke up in 1979, 22 years ago. Haven't spoken since. But Michael has never forgotten her. Never stopped wondering what might have been if he'd been brave enough to fight for her instead of letting her walk away. He pulls the note from the bouquet. His assistant watches his face change as he reads it. "Michael, you're on in 3 minutes." His stage manager calls out. Michael doesn't respond. He's frozen, staring at the note, reading it over and over. "Michael?" his assistant prompts. "I need a minute," Michael says quietly. "Michael, you don't have a minute. I need a minute." Michael's voice breaks. Not anger. Panic. Because the note says something he never expected to read. Something that changes everything. And he has 3 minutes before he has to go back on stage and perform in front of 20,000 people. Summer 1977, 24 years earlier, on the set of The Wiz, New York City. Michael Jackson was 18 years old. The Jackson 5 star transitioning to solo artist. Famous since childhood, but emotionally frozen at about 12. No normal adolescence. No teenage romance. No experience with love beyond what he'd seen in movies or heard in songs. Then he met Tatum O'Neal. She was 13, almost 14, already an Oscar winner for Paper Moon at age 10. The youngest person ever to win an Academy Award. Famous before she understood what famous meant. Raised by an alcoholic father in Hollywood's chaos. She and Michael recognized something in each other immediately. Two people who'd been performing since before they could spell their own names. Two people who understood the loneliness that came with being famous too young. Their first real conversation happened between takes. Michael was hiding from the chaos of the set. Tatum found him. "You're Michael Jackson," she said. "I know," Michael replied. That wasn't a question, just a fact. Michael smiled. "You're Tatum O'Neal." Also a fact. They sat in silence for a moment. "Do you ever wish you could just be normal?" Michael asked. "Every single day," Tatum said. "But we're not normal. We never will be. So we might as well find someone who understands." That's when it started. Not romance yet. Understanding first. For 2 years, Michael and Tatum were inseparable. Late-night phone calls that lasted until the sun came up. Trips to Disneyland where Michael felt like a kid for the first time in years. Sitting in silence together because they didn't need words to feel connected. Michael wrote songs about her. Some made it onto albums. Some stayed locked in notebooks. Tatum defended him to her Hollywood friends who didn't understand why she was dating that Jackson 5 kid. This was Michael's first experience of romantic love. First person he wanted to touch. First person whose opinion mattered more than the screaming crowds. First person who made him feel like himself instead of a product. Tatum taught him how to kiss. Awkward at first, then less so. Taught him how to be present in his body instead of always watching himself from outside. Taught him that he was worthy of love beyond what he could do on stage. For 2 years, Michael believed he'd found something real. Something that could last. Until it couldn't. Until the complications became bigger than the connection. As they got older, their needs diverged. Tatum wanted a real boyfriend. Someone who could take her to public events. Someone who wasn't terrified of physical intimacy beyond kissing. someone who could imagine a future. Michael wanted to keep everything private, protected from media scrutiny. He wanted to take things slowly physically because the idea of losing control terrified him. He wanted to focus on his music career. He was recording Off the Wall, the album that would redefine him as an adult artist. The tension built through 1978 and into 1979. Why can't we just go to a restaurant like normal people? Tatum asked. Because we're not normal. The second we walk in, it's cameras and chaos. So we just hide forever? I'm not hiding. I'm protecting us. You're protecting yourself, Michael. There's a difference. July 1979. Tatum's house in Los Angeles. Late evening. Michael had canceled their plans 3 times that week because of studio sessions. I can't do this anymore, Tatum said. Do what? Be the thing you fit in between studio sessions. Be the secret you keep. Be the relationship that only exists when it's convenient for you. That's not fair. You know how important this album is, and am I important? Tatum interrupted. Michael, I love you, but I need someone who's actually present, who's not terrified of being seen with me, who can imagine a future. I'm doing the best I can. I know, Tatum said softly, but your best isn't enough for me. Not anymore. Michael left that night, didn't call her back, didn't fight for her, because fighting would require admitting she was right, admitting he was too scared to give her what she needed. Tatum didn't call either. Pride, pain, the understanding that sometimes love isn't enough when fear is bigger. 6 months later, January 1980, Michael recorded She's Out of My Life for the Off the Wall album, cried during every take. The producer kept a version where his voice breaks at the end because it was the most honest thing Michael had ever put on tape. Everyone thought it was about a fictional heartbreak. It wasn't. It was about Tatum, the girl he let walk away because he was too scared to fight. The next 22 years were a study in trying to recreate what he'd lost. Michael dated other people. Brooke Shields, beautiful, famous, safe. But he couldn't open up. Couldn't be vulnerable. Why don't you ever really kiss me? Brooke asked after 6 months. Michael had no answer because he was still comparing her to Tatum. Diana Ross, an obsession that went nowhere because she saw him as a child she'd mentored, never as a man. Lisa Marie Presley, actual marriage, real connection, but Michael's patterns repeated. Fear of vulnerability, work obsession, trust issues, divorced after 19 months. Debbie Rowe, transactional marriage for children, not romantic, not real partnership. The pattern was always the same. Every relationship measured against what he had with Tatum and found wanting. And every time he performed She's Out of My Life, he cried. If you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to support the channel. Hundreds of performances between 1979 and 2001. Tears every single time. People thought it was just Michael being emotional, selling the song. But anyone who knew about Tatum understood. Michael wasn't performing grief. He was reliving it. Tatum's life moved forward too. Married John McEnroe in 1986. 3 children. Difficult marriage. Struggled with addiction throughout the 80s and 90s. Divorced in 1994. Spent years trying to rebuild her life. Get sober. Figure out who she was beyond the role she played. Did she think about Michael? Yes. More than she wanted to admit. Every time she saw him on TV, every time one of his songs played, every time someone mentioned his name, she wondered, what if I'd stayed? What if I'd fought for him instead of walking away? September 2001. Tatum is 47 years old, sober for 3 years. Her therapist suggests, are there any unfinished relationships you need closure on? Michael is the biggest piece of unfinished business in Tatum's life. She sees the announcement for his 30th anniversary concert at Madison Square Garden. 2 shows, September 7th and 10th. Something compels her. She'll attend the second show, not try to go backstage, not make a scene, just watch him perform. See him one last time. Get closure. But as the date approaches, Tatum realizes closure requires communication. Seeing him from the audience won't give her what she needs. The bouquet. Tatum buys 12 white roses. White was always her favorite, Michael remembered that. She writes a note, rewrites it 20 times. The final version says, Michael, it's been 22 years. I don't know if you remember me or think about me, but I've never stopped thinking about you. I'm in the audience tonight. Section 108, row 12. If you want to talk after the show, no pressure, no expectations. Just two people who used to know each other. I'll wait. If you don't, I understand. Either way, I needed you to know you were my first love, and that will always mean something. T. She arranges for the bouquet to be delivered backstage during the show. Time to arrive when Michael comes off stage between segments. September 7th, 2001. 8 o'clock. The concert begins. Tatum sits in section 108, row 12. Good seat, not front row. She can see the stage clearly. Michael performs. Flawless. The Jackson 5 reunion. Solo hits. The moonwalk. Everything the audience came for. Tatum watches and realizes she still feels it. 22 years later. That connection. That pull. That sense that Michael was the one person who truly understood her. 9:15. The way you make me feel. Michael performs it with his brothers. High energy. Crowd going wild. Tatum watches Michael move and remembers. That's how he made me feel. Alive. Scene. Real. 9:30. Michael exits stage for costume change. This is when the bouquet arrives. Michael stands in the wings, holding the bouquet, reading Tatum's note. For the third time, fourth time, trying to process. She's here, right now, in the audience. Section 108, row 12. She wants to see me after the show. His assistant watching. Michael, you're on in 2 minutes. Michael doesn't respond. Can't respond. Why is she here after 22 years? What does she want? Does she still think about me? Does she blame me for how it ended? His stage manager, Michael now. Michael shoves a note in his pocket, hands the bouquet to his assistant. Hold this. Don't lose it. He walks back on stage. But everything has changed. Michael performs his solo set. Billie Jean, black or white. Man in the mirror. Technically perfect. Every move precise. Every note on pitch. But anyone watching closely can see Michael is somewhere else. Between songs, his eyes scan section 108. Can he see her from the stage? The lights make it difficult. 20,000 faces blur together, but he knows she's there. Can feel her presence. During Man in the Mirror, Michael changes one line slightly. Instead of, I'm starting with a man in the mirror, he sings, I'm starting with the truth in the mirror. Looking towards section 108 when he sings it. The audience doesn't notice, but Tatum does. 10:45. The show ends. Michael takes his bow. Standing ovation. He exits the stage and walks directly to his dressing room. Tells his assistant, I need 10 minutes alone. Michael sits in his dressing room, still in performance clothes, holding Tatum's note. Do I see her? After 22 years? What's the point? The point is you never stopped thinking about her. You never got closure. Closure requires honesty. And I've never been honest about why I let her go. So be honest now. You're 43 years old. If not now, when? Michael picks up his phone. Calls the security team. There's a woman in the audience. Section 108, row 12. Tatum O'Neal. I need you to ask her if she'd be willing to come backstage. Tell her I want to see her, if she's comfortable with that. You got it. Michael paces. What if she changed her mind? What if she left already? What if the note was just a gesture and she doesn't actually want to see him? 11 minutes later, a knock on the door. Security. Michael, she's here. Michael's heart stops. Okay, give me 1 minute. He looks at himself in the mirror, still in stage makeup, sweat-soaked costume, exhausted. This is not how he wanted to see her again, but this is what he has. Okay, send her in. The door opens. Tatum enters. She's 47 years old now. Still beautiful, but different, older, lived in, real. Hi, Michael says. Hi, Tatum replies. They stand 10 feet apart. The distance feels enormous. Silence. Long silence. I got your note, Michael finally says. I know. You called me backstage. I wasn't sure you'd come. I wasn't sure you want to see me. More silence. 22 years, Tatum says. That's a long time. It is. Why did you want to see me? You could have ignored the note. Michael takes a breath. Because I never apologized for how things ended, for pushing you away, for being too scared to fight for you. Tatum's eyes fill with tears. Michael, that was 22 years ago. We were kids. We were, but I've spent 22 years regretting it. Every relationship I've had since, I've compared to what we had, and none of them measured up. That's not fair to them, or to yourself. I know, but it's the truth. Tatum sits on the couch. Michael sits across from her. Why did you come tonight? Michael asks, after all this time, why now? Because I'm trying to make peace with my past, and you're the biggest piece of unfinished business I have. I needed to see you, to know if there was any chance we could have closure. What does closure look like to you? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe just understanding. Why did it end the way it did? Why did we both just walk away and never speak again? Michael is quiet for a long moment, because I was terrified of being vulnerable, of being seen for who I really was instead of who people thought I was. And you saw me, really saw me, and that terrified me more than anything. So you pushed me away? Yes, and I've regretted it every day since. Tatum wipes her tears. I've thought about you too, more than I wanted to admit. Every time I saw you on TV, every time I heard your music, I'd wonder, what if I'd stayed? What if I'd fought for you instead of walking away? You shouldn't have had to fight for me. I should have fought for you. And I didn't, and I'm sorry. Can I ask you something? Tatum says, anything. That song, She's Out of My Life. Is that about me? Michael smiles. Sad smile. Every word, every note. I cried recording it. Cried performing it for 22 years. Because it was true. You were out of my life. And I didn't know how to process that. I didn't know. I never told you. Never told anyone. Just kept it locked inside. Why are you telling me now? Because we're 43 and 47 years old. And life is too short to die with regrets. I've carried this for 22 years. I needed you to know. Silence. Long silence. Then Tatum. Is there any chance? She trails off. Can't finish the question. Michael knows what she's asking. That we could try again? Yes. Michael is quiet. I don't know. We're different people now. I'm not the 19-year-old you dated. You're not the 15-year-old I fell in love with. I know, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we've both grown enough to do it right this time. Or maybe we just repeat the same patterns. Me pulling away, you leaving, both of us hurt again. Or maybe we've learned from our mistakes. Michael looks at her. Really looks at her. What are you asking for? I don't know. Maybe just a chance. To see if there's anything still there. No pressure. No expectations. Just two people who used to know each other seeing if they can know each other again. Michael is quiet for a long moment. I want to say yes, but I'm scared. Of hurting you again. Of being hurt again. Of discovering that what we had doesn't translate to who we are now. I'm scared too, Tatum admits. But I'm more scared of spending the rest of my life wondering what if. So what do? We take it slow. We have dinner. We talk. We see if there's anything real beyond the nostalgia. Michael nods slowly. Okay, we can do that. Really, because you're right. Life's too short to live with what-ifs. But I need to be honest with you, Michael says. My life is complicated. I have 3 kids. My career is chaotic. The media scrutiny is insane. And I'm still working through a lot of damage. I have my own complications, Tatum replies. 3 kids. Recovery. Trying to rebuild a career. Plenty of damage of my own. So we're both broken. Maybe we both learn how to heal. Michael stands. walks to Tatum, sits next to her. I'm glad you sent the roses. I'm glad you wanted to see me. They sit in silence, comfortable silence, the kind they used to share. White roses. Michael says, your favorite. You remembered. I've never forgotten anything about you. Tatum takes his hand. Neither have I. January 2002, 3 months later. Michael and Tatum at Havenhurst. They've been seeing each other carefully since September. Slow, deliberate, building something new instead of trying to recreate the past. How does it feel? Tatum asks. Doing this again? Terrifying, Michael admits. Every day. But good. Really good. Yeah. Because you're still the person who sees me. Not Michael Jackson. Just me. That hasn't changed. Tatum takes his hand across the table. You're still the person who makes me feel seen too. That hasn't changed either. So, maybe we were right. Maybe there is something still here. I think so. Different than it was. But real. Michael smiles. I can work with real. They sit together. Not perfect. Not without complications. But honest. Building something that acknowledges the past without being trapped by it. Two people who loved each other at 19 and 15. Who lost each other because they were too young and too scared. Who found each other again at 43 and 47 because 12 white roses and a handwritten note bridged 22 years of silence. September 7th, 2001. Madison Square Garden. Michael Jackson received a bouquet of white roses backstage. Inside was a note from his first love, Tatum O'Neal, the girl who taught him what love felt like when he was 19. The girl he pushed away because he was too scared to be vulnerable. 22 years of silence. 22 years of regret. 22 years of wondering what if. That night, those roses and that note bridged the gap. Not perfectly. Not without fear. But honestly, Michael and Tatum didn't get the fairy tale ending. They got something better. Closure. Understanding. The chance to make peace with their past and build something new. Some loves end and stay ended. Some end and leave only regret. But some, the rare ones, get a second chance through 12 white roses and a note that says, I never stopped thinking about you. Michael and Tatum's second chance looked different than their first love. Older, more complicated, more real, but it was a second chance. And sometimes that's enough. The roses were white, Tatum's favorite. The note was honest, what Michael needed. And the reunion was imperfect, what they both deserved. First loves don't always last, but sometimes they come back. In unexpected ways, at unexpected times, through a bouquet of roses, and the courage to say what should have been said 22 years ago. If you like this story, please subscribe to support this channel.